Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Wachahakwadash, and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. Right, Lord's will, this rain is not interfering with the sound too much, but what I want to get into, right, because I've been listening to a bunch of videos, right, and a recurring topic, that pretty much brothers are hitting at is what, a famine coming, and pretty much the downfall of the current system and the current, an economic collapse, a societal collapse. That's something that brothers have been speaking about heavy, and that's all, according to scripture. Now, we know that Esau, they want this collapse to happen. The things that they're doing, dealing with Iran, right, prolonging the war, causing energy to fail, right, people having to start energy rationing, energy famine, right, energy shortage. They are purposely, engineering all of that to create this crisis, to bring down this current environment, right, to bring in the new system, right, going into the beast system that they really want to implement, because dealing with foundations, right, there's only so much that you can do, with one foundation. If you have a foundation that's not meant for a specific thing, then you need to remove that foundation and place the foundation that's meant for that specific thing. And that's what Esau is trying to do, right? But here's the book of Revelation, chapter 14, verse 9. Jump right into it. And it reads, "And the third angel followed them, saying," what the subtitle here reads, "Doom for worshippers of the beast." Right, so those who bow down to this system that Esau is trying to create, which is going to be a system, a technological system, right, where they have Salakia for the interruption, but going into it, right, that beast system is pretty much going to be a system of, Esau having complete control over the entire world, being able to monitor everything you do, everything that has to do with you living. They're going to control and monitor it all. It's going to be a digital prison, and by the help of their technology, right? All this AI that they're advancing, there's going to be, because the current system, Esau doesn't have the utmost control as they would want, right? You still have people who can, quote unquote, live off grid, who can make money, on the back end, right, and things of that nature. There's things that Esau still cannot stop people from doing, even though they got all these policies and so on and so forth. But the system that they want to, place in is going to put an end to all of that. So they will have that total control, which is what they really want. People think that, a lot of the stuff that Esau does, like with the AI, for example, the fact that Esau is rolling out all this AI and taking away jobs, people are like, well, if they take away, all the jobs, how are people going to make money to then buy their stuff? They're losing money. Esau don't give a damn about money. It's all about control, and a lot of people are going to have to find that out the hard way. But jump right into it. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 14, verse 9. "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast," that system, which is pretty much the ancient system of Rome, modernized, right, and perfected through their technology, "and his image," Slakia, "if any man worship the beast," which is America, NATO, the EU, right, the revival of the ancient Roman Empire, but modernized, right, which is headed by America, pretty much Esau and his allies, "and his image," now the image would be that system, "and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand," going into the MOTB, the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip, right? Because in that mark, the MOTB, is going to be a must-have in that system that they create. In order to operate in this system, in order to live, you're going to need that MOTB. That's a part of that control, right? You read that in Revelation, the 13th chapter, Salakia. Getting straight to the point, It's the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 16. And it reads, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. When you go into this word mark, you have the Greek word charagma. Let's go into this real quick, break this down real quick to show, that this is a literal thing and that it also is that implant. Here you have the word charagma, a stamp and imprinted mark of the mark print stamped on the forehead of the right hand as the badge of the followers of the anti-Hamashiach, the mark branded upon horses, a thing carved, sculpture, graven work of idolatrous images, right? So something that's carved, a sculpture, something that's graven, that is physical. That's a literal, tangible object. And that is going to be that is literally, the chip, that graving or sculpting would be likened unto, however the engineers, conjured up this MOTB, right? All the things that they did, the pieces that they, created, and whatever, to create it. Now, when you go deeper, here you have the word harax, and what this goes into is basically the utensil or the tool that's used to pretty much implant the chip into you, to cut you open or whatever, to pierce through your skin. Here from karaso, to what? Sharpened to a point, through the idea of scratching. Now, if you had something sharpened to a point, scratching on your skin, what is that? It's graven it, as we read in the other word, right? It's cutting it open. If you were to take a pin or a knife, you scratch it on your skin, what are you doing? You're cutting yourself. Not saying to do that if that's not clear, but giving an example. A pale or stake, a palisade. Now, the pale stake that is going into is like pretty much a sharpened wooden stick. They're normally used as fences, but as we read here, right, through the idea of scratching. Pales between which earth, stones, trees, and timbers are heaped and packed together. Here again, karaso, to sharpen to a point, through the idea of scratching. A stake, i.e. implication, a palisade or rampart, military mound for circumvallation in a siege. Here you have the word karaso or grapho, right, as we read, to write with reference to the form of the letters, to write, so again, likening it unto, writing with that sharp object. And what is that going to do? As we said, cut you open, pierce through your skin and whatever, to get that implant inside of you. So that would be likened unto whatever device, Esau uses in order to literally implant. Now, here, verse 17, right, because we said that that MOTB is going to be a must-have in that system, that Esau creates. Why? Because without it, you won't be able to do what? And that no man buy or sell save he that had the mark, right? And it goes beyond just buying and selling, but pretty much being able to live, to live in that society, to operate in the society, you're going to need this mark. Save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Salakia. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now, even further, when you go into that final 6, because that 666 in the Greek is chi psi stigma. Here, chi psi stigma.
Strong's G 5516. Chi psi stigma. Chi psi stigma.
Right, and now when you go into that final 6, here the word stigma, from a primary what? Stizo, meaning to stick, i.e. prick, and that would happen when? Well, when you use the harax, to what? Scratch your skin, to stick, to prick the skin in order to implant the charagma. A mark pricked in or branded upon the body. To ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belong to. So once you take this mark, you're letting the Lord know you belong to the beast. You belong to Esau and their system, right? And as we just read, the subtitle, it reads what? Doom for worshipers of the beast. Doom for those who, worship this system. And even, though Esau's system is not complete, right? The digital system is not, fully established yet. Jake, most people of this world already worship Esau's system. So it's going to be nothing for them to then, switch over, especially when Esau pretty much takes everything away from them, forcing their hand. That's the point of this, collapse that they're trying to bring about. But finishing this off, of their master or commander, branded or pricked, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belong to. And there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with the token of their gods, right? So this system, this digital system that Esau is trying to establish, what would be the god? Well, technology. People would worship this technology, and bow down to the system that's pretty much powered, controlled through the technology, man. It runs off the technology. That's why it uses the word worshipped. So going back here, Revelation 14 and 9, and the third angel followed him, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his right hand. And also, as we went into that word charagma, right, it also went into what? Idolatrous images, right? Idols, false gods, man. If any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High. Right? So what? The judgment that the Lord is going to bring, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Right? And what this is mainly dealing with is the destruction of America. So all the people on the soils of America, right? If you're not of the elect, ultimately, you're going to take that MOTB and you're going to be destroyed when the Lord returns. But like we said, we know that MOTB is going to be a must-have in the system that creates, in the system that Esau creates. So without it, effectively, you pretty much won't be able to live, unless, right, you have the protection, of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai. If the Lord is not providing for you in those times, you're pretty much cooked. And that's what they want this collapse to bring about. That's what they need this collapse for, to get to those times where people are desperate. So therefore, they're coming to Esau, right? Because right now, dealing with America, the people of America are against their government. They're against the president. There's division, So Esau needs, to put them in a state where they are coming to the government, because that's the only choice they have, right? And now, that's something that Esau thinks that they're working towards, but really it's the will of the Lord. If the Lord said that there would be famines, the Lord said that, pretty much society would collapse, right? When you go into the scriptures, that there would be, division here, right? People, robbing each other, pretty much a purge like state, right? You read that in 2nd Ezra 15:16. Right, Matthew the 24th chapter, the Lord warned about these times coming, right? The times of Jacob trouble. But Esau sees it as their plans, working, right? Their will working, when really it's just the Lord. you know, and what the Lord is doing is he's using Esau, you know, to really bring about his judgments. But having Esau do it, it does what, right? It builds up Esau's pride, you know, because Esau thinking what they want is happening, but really is what the Lord wants, that he's using Esau to bring to pass. And that builds up Esau's pride, which then, you know, pretty much justifies Esau's judgment, Esau's destruction, right? Really dealing with, you know, or the destruction of their kingdom, right? It justifies that even more, because what do scriptures say, right? Let's grab the book of, here you have the book of Proverbs chapter 16. We can start here at verse 17. And it reads, the highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. Right? And that way that we are to keep is what? The way of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai. You know, to walk after righteousness. And he that keeps that way is ultimately going to, you know, be kept by the Lord. You know, to then not take that, you know, pretty much bow down to the beast and his system and take his mark. Right? Read that in Revelation chapter 3 verse 10. Now, well, let's get it first. The book of Revelation chapter 3 verse 10. And it reads, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, right? The ways of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai. That's the way that's going to keep them from evil. I also will keep thee from the hour of the temptation, right? And that's ultimate word of the Lord, of the Lord's patience is what? This truth, this gospel. I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. Now, as we read, as we said, right? You know, there's going to be many temptations, many trials that we are faced with, but that ultimate temptation is going into that MOTB. And when you go into the words, as we're going to do, it tells you that. But I finish it off first, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And what is the Lord trying? Right? Ultimately, he's trying, it's a test of faith, right? For his, you know, for his people, really, you know, and those who, you know, claim to be believers. The Lord is going to see, you know, if you truly have faith on the name Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai. And for the elect, they are. Why? Because it's preordained for them too. The Lord is going to make them. You know, the Lord is going to give their spirit that increase, as it reads in the book of I think it's Acts, could be wrong. Is it 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians? It's one of the Corinthians actually, I think. But here, giveth increase. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 7. And it reads straight to the point. So then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth, but the Most High that giveth increase. Right? Because you can do anything, but if the Lord does not want you to what's the word, prevail, for lack of better words, right, in the thing that you're doing, then you're not. The word I was thinking of was prosper, right? If the Lord doesn't want you to prosper in whatever it is that you're doing, then you're not, you know that, and that's just that. So it's the Lord that gives the increase. But where were we? Revelation 3 and 10. Right. Here, okay, now when we look into this word temptation, you have the word parasmos. Parasmos, an experiment, attempt, trial, a proving, right? Because the Lord ultimately is what is proving our faith in him. Now going deeper, here you have parazo, to try whether a thing can be done, to try, make trial of, to test for the purpose of ascertaining his quality, or what he thinks, or how he will behave himself, right? So again, the Lord is seeing how are you going to behave yourself faced with said perils. You know, are you going to rely on the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai, rely on Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai to get you through, you know, to think with a level head, Slakia, use the wisdom that the Lord, you know, has given you to you know, pretty much maneuver and operate throughout these trials? Or are you going to, you know, do the opposite, right? Rely on Esau, you know, bug out, because a lot of people are going to do that. You know, they're going to cast out everything that they learn out the window, man, and start bugging out. That's how bad things are going to get. You know, if the Lord does not, you know, pretty much keep you, right? Scriptures speak about the Lord, pretty much the elect. The Lord has them in his hand, you know, and that no man is able to pluck them out. So if the Lord keeps you, right, there is nothing or you know, anything that can be done to pretty much, you know, deceive you, right, to lead you away, to lead you astray. Now here we have the word pura. So when you go all the way to the root, you know, of that word, actually here is the root. Well, let's go back real quick. Let's get pura, right? When you go into the root of that word temptation, parasmos, we have the word here, pura. From the base of that through the idea of piercing. A trial, experiment, attempt a thing, to make trial of a thing or of a person, to have a trial of a thing, to experience, learn to know by experience. Say with a trial, right? And what? How would you attempt to, you know, how would you put them through that trial or that experience? How would you assay them? Test, i.e. attempt, experience, assaying, trial through the idea of piercing, right? The Lord seeing whether you take that MOTB or not, whether you bow down to the system or not over him. You know, and even further here you have the word paran. Apparently accusative case of an obsolete derivative of piro, to pierce, beyond, on the other side, right? So if I had a piece of paper and a pencil and I pierced it, what? The paper goes beyond, the pencil goes beyond the paper. It goes to the other side. Now, again, with the Crocs, right? That's what they would use to pierce what? Your skin, to then go to the other side, right? To go beyond and implant that MOTB within you. You know, here, apparently accusative case of an obsolete derivative of piro, to pierce, through, as adverb of preposition, i.e. across, beyond, farther, other side, over, you know. So that ultimate temptation is, you know, whether you take that MOTB or not. And the system that they're going to be in, they're going to purposely have it to where, you know, in order to operate in that system, you're going to need that MOTB. You know, that's how they're going to, you know, pretty much get people to take it, man, except for the elect of the nation of Israel. Right? That's Matthew the 24th chapter, 24th verse. You know, if it were possible, they would be deceived, but it's not possible. So going back here, Proverbs 16 and 18, it reads, pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. Now, you know, as we said, the Lord is having Esau push forward prophecy, while Esau is thinking that it's what they want to happen that's happening. Really, it's the Lord. But that's building Esau's pride up. Why? Because their fall, you know, the Lord is bringing about their fall, you know, and them too, they're bringing about their own destruction as well. That pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. And, you know, the day of the Lord is going to be the, you know, the most, you know, pretty much calamitous day to ever, you know, exist. So the Lord has to get Esau's pride, you know, and their quote unquote power to its peak, so that when the Lord brings them down, you know, it hits much harder, right? The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Where the more pride, when the Lord then takes them down, how much, you know, will they fall then? Right? In their ego, in their spirit. and you know, a showcase of that pride, because Esau thinks that this is them, right? What we want is happening. We orchestrated this to happen, right? This is happening because we did this, and so on and so forth. Not realizing that it's the Lord that's allowing them to do that. That's another showcasing of that pride, you know. And that's like here, the book of Isaiah chapter 10, with with the Assyrians. You know, back then, right, the Assyrians came with that same pride, that same spirit. And that's why, you know, prophetically, right, they are likened unto Esau. Esau today is likened unto these Assyrians, you know, and we're going to read and see why. It's really because of that pride. You know, also the fact that the Lord used them, you know, to pretty much judge us. So this is the book of Isaiah chapter 10. We can start here, verse 5. And it reads, Isaiah chapter 10, verse 5. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. Right? Because what did the Lord do? Israel was going off. So the Lord had, you know, pretty much Assyria come up against us, you know, as a judgment. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. I will send him against an hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. And that people of his wrath was what? His own nation, right? The nation of Israel. Because of our wickedness, though, right? This is all justified. You know, pretty much the Assyrians were the belt that the Lord used to beat us with. And today, that belt is what? Esau, Edom. Scriptures refer to Esau as the sword, the Lord's sword. Verse 7, howbeit he meaneth not so, neither doth his heart think so, but it is in his heart to destroy and to cut off nations, not a few. Right? So they, you know, in their mind, they don't think that, oh, it's the Lord, you know, having us do this. No, they just want to conquer, you know. Let's get this at the NLT. But the king of Assyria would not understand that he is my tool. His mind does not work that way. His plan is simply to destroy, to cut down nation after nation. And again, right, the Assyrians, you know, prophetically, spiritually represent who? Esau, Edom today. They don't think or understand that the Lord is just using them to ultimately bring about their own destruction. You know, the Lord is using them to bring about his will. But they think that, nah, this is their doing. Right? They want to, you know, bring about their own will. They think that that's what's happening, but it's not. And it says here, to cut, his plan is simply to destroy, to cut down nation after nation. Right? We know that Esau is the son of perdition, right? The son of destruction. Salakia. In Revelation, the 6th chapter, and the 4th verse, right, speaks about, you know, pretty much Esau being made for that purpose. Let's grab that real quick. Straight to the point. It's the book of Revelation chapter 6 verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and that red is a symbolization of Esau, Edom. And power, you can read that in Genesis the 25th chapter. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. Right? And in that great sword is part of the promises that, or the blessings that Isaac had gave to Esau. You can also read that in Genesis, I believe it's the 27th chapter. You know, so this is what Esau is here for, you know, to destroy, to corrupt, you know, to kill, and so on and so forth. Verse 7, once more, howbeit he meaneth not so, neither does his heart think so, but it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. For he saith, are not my princes altogether kings? And that's going into what? Pride. You know, saying that even their princes, right, are on the status of kings. You know, even their, you know, pretty much there were, you know, I'll say lower positions, and using that loosely, right? Lower positions are higher than, or as high as the positions of other nations, you know, or as high as the high positions of other nations. You know, pretty much pride, right? Boasting in their power. It's not Kono, also Carchemish. It's not Hamath as Arpad. It's not Samaria as Damascus, right? And what these places are pretty much places that they conquered, you know, that they destroyed, that they defeated. And pretty much they're going into, right, saying we defeated them, we defeated this, we defeated them, right? So we're going to do the same to Israel, right? In which Israel, I'm saying Israel, but I believe this was dealing with the southern kingdom, right? Judah. Yeah, because here it says it's not Samaria as Damascus. Samaria was pretty much the capital of the southern kingdom. So they would have already, went up against them already. As my hand has found the kingdoms of the idols. Let's also grab that in the NLT for clarity. We destroyed Calno just as we did Carchemish. Hamath fell before us as Apad did, and we destroyed Samaria just as we did Damascus. As my hand hath found the kingdoms of the idols, and whose graven images did excel them of Jerusalem and of Samaria. Right? So again, going into pride, saying that, even, these other nations, they had their other gods, yet we still destroyed them. What did their gods do? And their gods, right? Their gods had more, I'll say more praise than the God of Jerusalem and Samaria. So what they're saying is, for sure, right, we're going to destroy Jerusalem and Samaria as well. So again, showing what? That pride, and this is what Esau Edom is about. Again, applying Assyria to Esau, right? That's what they have had in common, that pride. Shall I not, as I have done unto Samaria and her idols, so do to Jerusalem and her idols? And the fact that the word idols is used is the reason why the Lord had the Assyrians come up against them in the first place, man. The idolatry, the fornication, spiritual fornication, right? The wickedness that our people was committing. Because, all right, Salakia for the interruption again, but as I was saying, right, first off, Jerusalem and Samaria, realistically, right, we don't have an idol. Israel does not have an idol, right? We actually have, the one and only true living God. So wherefore it shall come to pass that when the Lord hath performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria and the glory of his high looks. So once the Lord has used Assyria to do what they do to Israel, right, then the Lord is going to then punish them for their pride, and again, it's the same play with here dealing with Esau in America. Once the Lord uses Esau to, as his sword to pretty much bring about judgment on the wicked of his people, the Lord is going to then, destroy them. I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria and the glory of his high looks. Right? When you go into that word stout, it basically goes into pride, looking at yourself pretty much as above, greatness, magnitude, magnificence, pride, insolence in the bad sense, right? Greatness, stoutness. For he saith, by the strength of my hand I have done it. Remember what I was going into, right? These devils think that, them bringing in a famine, them causing, energy shortages, right? So on and so forth, them collapsing the economy, is, they're doing to bring in their system, but really the Lord is letting them do that to ultimately bring in their destruction. For he saith, by the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent, and I have removed the bounds of the people, and have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. And my hand hath found as a nest the riches of the people, and as one gathereth eggs that are left, have I gathered all the earth, and there was none that moved the wing, or opened the mouth, or peeped. So saying that pretty much, we came here, did our thing, took all their, their riches, we spoiled them, defeated them, right? And there was no one to stop us. He's likening it unto, a nest with eggs, and they just came up, grabbed the eggs, and there was no, pretty much mother bird or anything to defend, to fight back. Nah, pretty much saying that this was easy, right? This was light work. And there was none that moved the wing or opened the mouth or peeped. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therewith? Right? And as we read above, right? Assyria is the tool. Esau is the tool that the Lord is using. But they pride themselves as if, they are the one in power. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therewith? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shaketh it? And the Lord is doing that to make them boast, so that then, again, not only will their destruction be justified, but it'll be great. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therewith? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shaketh it? As if the rod should shake itself against them that lift it up, or as if the staff should lift up itself as if it were no wood. Right? Because if you didn't have the person pretty much using the tool, without someone to use the tool is useless. So why are you then the one boasting? Why are you then the one proud? Therefore shall the Lord of hosts, send among his fat ones leanness, and under his glory he shall kindle a burning like the burning of a fire. Right? And we know ultimately what? The destruction of America is going to be by way of fire, man. Thermonuclear fire, as well as the I like to call it divine fire, right? From the chariots of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, to so-called UFOs. When you look into this word leanness, I believe it goes into like, plagues. Here, Razanan, Razawan, Salakia. Leanness, scantness, wasting, leanness, wasting of disease, scantness of measure, leanness, scant. Right. Let's grab this in NLT. And it reads, therefore the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua of heaven's armies, will send a plague among Assyria's proud troops, and a flaming fire will consume its glory. And we know that ultimately, as we said, right, the America is going to be destroyed by way of fire as well. And the light of Israel shall be for a fire, and his Holy One for a flame, and it shall burn and devour his thorns and his briars in one day. Right? And that's, the same as we read here in Revelation, the 18th chapter, dealing with the destruction of what? America, man. Babylon. The Lord is going to ultimately destroy them by fire, and he's going to do it not in a day, but in an hour, man. And that goes to show you what, right? The levels of the pride. Esau is the most proud. So therefore, not only is the Lord going to destroy them the worst, but he's going to do it the fastest. Notice around the we can start here at verse 18. We can start here at verse 17. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 17, and it reads, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And it's speaking about Babylon the Great, which we know is America, right? Because it also is dealing with the same thing in the book of Jeremiah, and it speaks about how Babylon, right? Another, or one point, that it's not speaking about ancient Babylon, is that number one is going to be completely destroyed, and that there won't be anyone, any inhabitants after the Lord is done, ever. That did not happen to ancient Babylon, right? For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, right, by way of fire, saying, what city is like unto this great city? Right, and that great city also, you read that in Revelation 17 and 18, which is America, man. And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High has avenged you on her. right? So liken that onto the how the Lord, destroyed the Assyrians for their pride. Esau in America is going to get the same treatment, but on a more grand and worse level. But the main point, right, I wanted to hit was how Esau thinks that they're pulling the strings, but really the Lord is pulling their strings, right? It's the book of Job, and we can end it off here. It's the book of Job, chapter 12. He disappointed the devices of the crafty, right? Ultimately going into Esau Edom, right? These elites and their plans. And this word devices, goes into, their plans, their schemes, so on and so forth. You have Maha Shaka, thought, device, plan, purpose, invention. Thought, device, purpose, work, imaginations, cunning, devise, invented, means. Right? So everything that these devils think they're going to accomplish ultimately, think they're going to implement their system and, establish it and then take control over everything forever, right? They think when the Lord returns, they're going to defeat him. And, the Lord, no, bro. Their kingdom is going down and it's coming down hard, right? Let's also grab this in the book of Revelation 18. I believe it's around here. Here, verse 21. Revelation chapter 18, verse 21. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea. So you can imagine a mighty angel, right? The strength he's packing, throwing this millstone into the sea. How fast, how hard, how fierce that happens. And he cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon, America, be thrown down and shall be found no more at all. Right? This damn sure ain't happened in ancient Babylon. Let's look into this word violence. Here you have in the Greek, hormema, a rush, impulse, that which is impelled or hurried away by impulse. Violence and attack, i.e., right, violence. Here, outburst of wrath, So it's going to be a great destruction, man. He disappointed the device of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. So the thing that these devils think that they're going to do, right? The Lord is going to shut it all down. He taketh, here's the point, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, right? Because here it is, they think they're being crafty and fulfilling their own wills whole time. The Lord got them fulfilling his and taking them in their own craftiness, right? Them fulfilling his, whole time they're bringing the destruction of, their own kingdom. That's the Lord taking them in their own craftiness, man. and what does that show? That shows power. How much power does it show that you have your enemy defeat himself? That's real power, man. and real, wisdom, real cunning. He disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the forward is carried what? Headlong, right? And when you go into that word headlong, it basically means to pretty much, to fall downward hastily, right? Speedily, as we read, with the Revelation 18 and 21, doth with violence shall she be thrown down, roughly paraphrasing. Headlong, you have mahar, to hasten, to be hurried, to be anxious, hasty, precipitate, impetuous, to hasten, make haste, hasten, to hasten, prepare quickly, do quickly, bring quickly. So the Lord is not only going to bring them down quickly, as we read it, in an hour, but it's going to be a hard fall, right? Let's actually get the etymology on that word headlong. Here, originated in Middle English, combining head with head to mean head first. Right, let's get it here. Headlong, late 14th century. Headling, also headlings, head first, downward, headlong, forward, without thinking, hastily. You know, so without thinking, you know, the Lord is going to, and that's what? Confusion, man. So in the midst of confusion, which is what the word Babylon means, confusion, in the midst of confusion, the Lord is going to bring these devils down. Without thinking hastily, from head to confirm what sidelong is true, companions are now most obsolete, darkling, backling. You're right. So point is, these devils ain't got nothing on the Lord. You know, no matter what they think they got, they don't. And their kingdom is coming down soon. And little do they know, right? They are going to be the reasons. So with that being said, once more, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodash. Lord willing, this video was edifying, informative, and or uplifting in some way, shape, or form. And double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and shalom to the hopeful elect.